So I mentioned marketing as one of the methods that would be used by a sports development officer. I'd like to go into a little bit more detail here, okay? I think this is a nice definition of marketing. It comes from the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Marketing is a management process which identifies, anticipates, and supplies customer requirements efficiently and profitably. I think that's really quite a nice definition there. A sports development officer will really be at the heart of this process. One of the components of good marketing is being able to analyse products, services and potential customers. We could say this is market intelligence. Of course, we could also refer back to market segmentation here, which we covered quite recently, earlier on in this section, okay? We need to be able to match resources with the needs of the customers. We also need to be able to identify our resources, okay? That's very important too. The goal really in marketing is to seek an optimum efficiency in terms of take-up. This is the ultimate objective. One of the evaluations of our success will be to compare investments with the differences we've seen in take-up of our products and services. If people aren't aware of what we offer, none of this is possible. Hence the importance of advertising and promoting activities and facilities. This brings the whole process together. Key points to consider: who the customers are, what they want, and what we've got that we can offer to them. Let's look at the marketing mix, or the 7 Ps. Now, I'm not going to go into too much depth right now. This isn't specifically a lecture about marketing. We'll look at that later. But it's important to realise that the sports development officer does need some marketing ability. Now, the theory behind marketing, okay, someone called McCarthy in 1975 came up with something called the 4 Ps, kind of a model there. And McCarthy emphasised product, the price, the place, but then I'm thinking about distribution and location, and the promotion, marketing communication skills, okay. Booms and Bittner in 1981, they added 3 additional things, okay. You'll see that reference on the slide anyway. And they looked at people, so perhaps we can consider coaches, volunteers, first aiders. They looked at the process. I'm thinking now booking, entry and exit, parking facilities, and the actual activity session. And then physical evidence, the equipment that we need, clothing, facilities, okay? These are linked in, part of our marketing mix. So we need to understand our own products and why and who we are offering these products to. We need to ensure that the price is appropriate to the needs or access of the consumer. We need to know where and how these activities will take place. And in terms of marketing communication, we need to know where the people are, how to access those people, how to speak with them, the channels of communication we may use, the difference in terms of the nature of these people, and how best to engage them and manage the process through to their participation and successful outcomes. Of course, we can't do any of this without the correct resources. We need to understand the customer's needs in the first place. This can help us to create a competitive advantage. Well, why is this important? Because we're all competing with other organisations, both within our sport and also with other sports. We should be well blended, okay, this marketing mix, so that it's not all too similar. Social media, for example, gives us a variety of opportunities that we can use to communicate. On the summary of this slide, look at the poster. Does it give all the info that you think you need to know? Is it attractive? Does it do its job? Does it grab your attention? We also need to match corporate resources. The 5th component of our methodology I'd like to consider, okay, in terms of sports development work, is communication. Quite crucial in life, I'm sure you'll agree with me here, okay? Specifically, we will need to establish networks within the community. Probably one of the most important components of our work. We really need to be aware of the needs of our communities and organisations working there. A sports development officer needs to understand the objectives of other sporting and non-sporting bodies that they'll work closely with or come into contact with, for example. We need to support those communities and allow sports clubs the chance to develop and progress. Only by understanding their needs can we start to effectively plan in order to really give these organisations the support they need. So this communication is vital, okay? We can see that. I'd also like to consider monitoring and evaluation. I mentioned this earlier in terms of marketing. We have to plan for this. It's the beginning of the process as well as the end. Okay, it's a nice cycle, it goes right round. We need to draw up work programs and set targets. These targets will need to be realistic, manageable targets. You may have heard of the SMART principle. We'd certainly be looking at applying that. We need to work towards organisational objectives. Short, medium and long-term goals. Again, comes into the SMART planning programme there, doesn't it? We need real clarity here in terms of what we are aiming to achieve within a set time frame. We need to be able to perform evaluation through preset performance indicators. Reflection can be useful here in addition to what were our KPIs, key performance indicators. We can also use more qualitative processes that allow us to reflect on the practice, okay? As well as these very sort of stats-based evaluations, which we would call quantitative, we could also use more qualitative methods that would allow us to reflect for the practice, in practice and on practice, and before, during and after. Of course, interim judgments, things that are sort of going on as the process is in place, they may guide allocations for future resources, so that's important to consider too. I'd also like to concentrate a little on human and financial resources. None of these things can happen without appropriate staff and funding. Resources are vital for the implementation of development programs. Ultimately, without these, they will fail. Identifying funding and human resources required to carry out these programs are obviously vital. We need to identify who and what we need. We also need to be able to gain support from local authorities, voluntary sectors, and through sponsorship, okay? However, this process can be time-consuming and limit effectiveness. Again, that core funding and systems of internal management support must be related to performance indicators. You might see these referred to as KPIs quite often, okay? Let's make sure we know what this means. Key performance indicators. Human resource management skills are also important. We are not specialists in this field, but we do need to have some understanding, okay? This will be one of the methods we use.